Speaking of important markets and trying something different in big places, the F1.
Oh.
Okay, see, Vanessa's.
Should I just leave and let her do you want some
How
room?
much time can I
I'm
take
going
my
to
sweater
stand
off?
up for this one.
My sweater off. I got things to say. So Formula One had their first appearance in Las Vegas, and this sort of was controversial all over the place. In the weeks leading up, the people of Las Vegas who actually live there and don't just vacation there like the rest of us were somewhat pissed off with construction and ramps being created and all kinds of things like that.
Closures. And
Yeah, and this was also going to run at 10 p.m. local time in Vegas. That's 1 a.m. Eastern time, and I guess this was supposed to be to sort of half satisfy Europe, right, where it would be a morning event over there. But like, this was a bit of a gong show, and they tried to get hotels to pay big money to like let you come sit at the windows while these cars race down the strip. And I don't know, I like that you try different things. I like that it's a unique backdrop, but this seemed like a bit of a gong show. It's now in the rear view. How'd it come off?
Oh, Matt, I don't even know where to begin, honestly. You're right. They tried it. I genuinely don't know where to start. I want to talk about every fucked up thing that happened in this stupid weekend. I like that they tried something different. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. I hate that we had three this is me being anti-American a little bit, but I hate that we had to have 3 American races this year. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Miami and
Circuit of the Americas
Right.
in Texas.
Okay.
Which that one, Circuit of the Americas is like one of my favorite tracks. It's great, and I would love, like, that should never leave the calendar. Miami is the most boring race. Like, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Okay.
It's just a parade. It's kind of like Monaco, like a knockoff Monaco. It doesn't have any of the pomp and circumstance of Monaco, but
Right.
the same boringness of like a parade of cars. That's Miami. And then they put in Vegas, and it's like, this is just going to be another one of those. Like, they're just doing it to appease what they think is this like really huge new American fan base. Except,
which has grown, right,
it
because
has
of the
grown.
Netflix
Drive
series.
to Survive
Yes.
did great work for that.
Yeah.
And there are these huge fan bases in the States. And so, okay, cool. They tried a thing. The way they went about it, they overestimated the power of themselves so much in
I do that
the
to myself
setup
a
of this race. I was saying to Michaela, maybe like a month ago, her and I were talking about it. And I can't remember if we were saying like it would be cool to go or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but it's ridiculously expensive. Like, the amount just for a ticket was 3 times as much as any other race, as the next most expensive race.
Right.
Just for a ticket. Then you're paying for hotels and you're paying for, your flights there and
Well, like
everything.
I said, even to sit by a window at one of
Exactly.
these hotel bars along the strip was $1,500.
Exactly. But as we were talking about it, I said some number. I threw out a number that I know I had seen because I had looked it up. I had wanted to go at some point, and I showed her. I like pulled it up on my phone, and I was like, "Oh, it's like half price."
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
is like a month ago.
Right.
And then last week, our friend Sarah was like, "Okay, me and Dan just SARAH.
Sorry.
Me and Dan just like booked tickets, and we're gonna go to Vegas because flights were cheap.
Yeah.
Hotel was cheap. Like, the prices had just dropped so dramatically because F1 pushed people out of Vegas. They made it seem like if you don't have enough money to pay for these ridiculously expensive tickets or seats in hotels to watch this race,
Yeah.
then you're not welcome here, basically. Like, there's no place for you here if you're not willing to dish out all this money. And so it was apparently, from everything
That's
I've
sort of
seen,
always been the Vegas mantra, though.
it's like it was like a ghost town, though.
Yeah, yeah.
So the whole lead up to it was just ridiculous. The race itself.
Well, just before you get to the race itself,
Okay.
did somebody else, like, just the stupid little things, did I not see that one of the big drivers, and I fully admit I'm not an expert on this stuff, in one of the practice rounds, like, blew up his car hitting a manhole cover or something?
Is where
that
I'm going.
Okay,
Yes.
take it away. I'm sorry. I
Carlos
shouldn't have
Sainz, no, that is all right. But this is like one of the stupid things about how this whole thing has been organized. It's a street track, which
Yeah.
like we have street tracks
Sure, lots of them are.
elsewhere.
Yep.
It's a thing. but they seemingly did no preparation for this street track at all. So Carlos Sainz goes out there. It's 9 minutes into the first practice at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever ridiculous time, 10 o'clock at night. And he hits, you're right, it hits a manhole cover, goes flying. Alonso is behind him, has to like swerve out of the way. Like it was like dangerous. Someone could have died, basically.
Right.
That thing hits you, you're a goner.
100%.
So the FIA's and F1's solution to it was just to cement all of the other drains on the track. People live in the city.
Yeah.
People live in the city, and like there is an annual monsoon that hits Vegas that floods casinos on the strip. That drainage system is poor at best, but is very crucial to protecting.
It's fairly important.
It's fairly important. And they just filled, what was it, 11?
30.
30? Oh my God. Like, we're just going to cause
Just pave
massive
over-
disruption
yeah.
to this city for the rest of its existence for this one
have a race.
weekend.
And
Come
listen,
on.
I'm all for that usually. I'm like, sports trumps everything.
Yeah. You want to live here? You should have thought of that.
Exactly.
Ask Tokyo,
But
hey,
in
we're kind of
this-
having a pandemic. Could you all not come?
Yeah.
The Olympics like, fuck you, we're coming. Like,
And then Canada won gold, and we're like, who cares?
It all makes it better. It's fine. But yeah, in this case, I think because I'm like so against this stupid third American race that I just think like it's ridiculous.
are they
That
locked
is
in
ridiculous.
for more of them, or was this going to be a one-off, do you think?
No, they are locked in for more.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
I
this
guess once
is-
you've paved over manhole covers, you might as well.
Well, we have it now.
that. Then, so after people have paid a ridiculous amount of money to go, so your first day one includes 2 practices. You get free practice 1, free practice 2. This happens 9 minutes into free
Like as
practice
a
1.
ticket buyer.
As a ticket buyer,
Yeah.
exactly. And there's usually like a few hours in between FP1, FP2. So FP1 is canceled after 9 minutes. It's not happening again, or not continuing. And then they push off the start of FP2. And then they keep everyone around fully knowing that at 2 they have a hard stop. Like at 2 o'clock,
Right.
staff are leaving and they can't keep anyone against their will after that. And so they send all the staff home at 2 o'clock, and then they had to close all the grandstands because there was no staff to monitor the
Safety
people.
and security.
And so
yeah.
then they start free practice 2 with no fans in the stands. Like only a couple of spots had them. And then they refuse to issue any refunds to these people.
Oh my God.
So after you paid hundreds of dollars to see this, you're not even allowed. You've
And probably
watched
flown
9
around the
minutes of it.
world from God knows where.
Exactly.
That's so wild.
So stupid. So ridiculous. Anyway. And then like the race itself, the fact that it was in the middle of the night was so dumb. You're right. A bit of it was to appease the European fans who
Yeah.
are pretty upset at like 3 races in America.
Right.
But also because they thought that the weather was going to be different. They thought that Vegas is like Saudi Arabia, like their other desert races where it's just always 50 degrees at track level, no matter the time of day. And so they thought that they would like try and appease that a little bit like they do when they're in Jeddah.
Sure.
They'll do a night race there. They did a night race here. It gets cold. It's
It is.
November.
It's November.
Yeah, it's not warm there.
Even in
Yeah,
Vegas,
you're
yeah.
not in the Middle East. Like you're in America still, and it gets cold in November at nighttime. And so there was a whole issue with grip and with tires. Like it was so poorly planned. Nobody was having a good time. Carlos Sainz ended up getting a 10-place grid penalty for hitting a manhole cover.
That's so ridiculous.
Like-
that's like fining Sidney Crosby for bad ice
Yeah.
conditions.
yes,
That's-
exactly.
That's ridiculous.
Yes.
So
Why would you do that?
And
Like-
then during the race too, Lando Norris, who I love, he hit a bump in the road that like should not have been there. His car bottomed out. He spun like crazy down a straight and then off of the track.
Oh my
Like he was
God.
in like it potentially could have been a very serious collision. It looked a lot worse than
Right.
it was, I think, but it was still very bad. All because there was a bump in the road. There can't be bumps in the road.
No.
Like
and the efforts that they've gone to make it so that people can't watch it for free is hilarious.
Yes.
Like they've put some seal on, because if you've been to Vegas, there's all these bridges that go over the
Yeah.
street, so you don't have to cross the street. And they put a seal on it so that you couldn't see, because there's like a plastic barrier on all these bridges. They put a seal on that plastic so you couldn't see the
Yeah, when you're
track.
trying to cross from one side of the strip to the other, you have to go up over these multiple bridges, and they're like, no, you can't look from up here. Like,
now Vegas people are hilarious because they found a workaround. They just rode the escalators the whole time and they could see the track. You can't hold Vegas people down, baby.
But like all of this was like just the fact that these hotels existed. F1 starts showing up, and I think it's Liberty that owns F1 or whatever. But essentially, it's F1 who is showing up to these hotels. Hey, we're going to run a race outside your window. Pay us. Like, fuck you. Like, my hotel already exists here. But they're like, no, now you're a spectator to our race. Like, everything about this was such a gong show. Like,
It really was.
I sort of understand in a very Vegas way that, like, if you are one of the hotels that overlooks the track, you're going to charge people to use your hotel or use your bars or whatever. But for F1 to just decide, hey, this is our route, and now everyone around us will pay us just because we're here. I'm curious, like, last thing on this, are the mistakes that were made, is the gong show that this thing kind of was, is it fixable? If they're locked in for future years, can they do this better in future? Or is this just going to kind of suck until the contract's up?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. Like, they're going to have to do the thing is, if it was a league that like wanted to help themselves, they would. F1 still made a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
They announced during the race last night, this morning, whenever it was, I'm sleepy, that there were 315,000 people in attendance over the weekend, which is like pretty average compared to all of the other races.
So it did okay.
It did okay, but it didn't look like that.
No.
Are they
Like,
including
how
the
were
people
they-
who were forced out during that
Right?
practice run? Like, they bought tickets,
Yeah.
technically, but they were not in attendance.
Exactly.
Head
They
count
were not
versus
there.
purchased tickets is
Yeah,
not the same thing.
exactly.
Exactly. And honestly, I would doubt whether they actually sold that many because prices were so like exponentially high and higher than any other race
Yeah,
in the world.
Vegas is one of those places where you want to be there. It's just the home of big events, right? It's
Yeah.
boxing, it's MMA, it's the like big what do they call them? Residencies for musicians. Like, I get why they want to be in Vegas, but it just sort of looks like they kind of went, yeah, fuck it, we're going in, we'll see how it goes, and
Yeah,
did very
exactly.
little. Yeah,
Very
And
much
F1
like that.
is, or FIA, I guess, in this case, is kind of like FIFA, where like they don't give a fuck about their reputation.
No.
They're like,
No.
we make money, we don't care.
God,
So
money.
all of this chat, because like from a PR standpoint, this has been a disaster of an event. They do not care.
No.
They will do it again next year. They will do it all the same. They, from their lens, they're like, well, we made money, so we don't care.
Yeah. Exactly. And people still watched.
Yeah.
I watched it. I was up at 1:00 this morning watching it. Like,
that's
I'm an
yeah.
idiot.
Like at 10 p.m., if you're in Vegas, you're up anyway. Like, people stay up late in Vegas.
At
That's
4
just,
o'clock in the morning, you're up in Vegas.
Shred's the only one at the blackjack table at 6:45 in the morning.
I went to White Castle at like 7 a.m. last time I was there because I was up and there was nothing
No
else.
lines.
Anyway, day drinking.
yeah.
I have like this whole like set of pictures of me and my friend Alana. We made some rando take these pictures of us with a Diplo sign in the middle of, I don't even know what casino we're in, and we're like all over this sign. And there's a guy in the background eating a croissant. It's like 7:30. We had just left the bar.
We are yin and yang.
We're